Hi, I'm Obsessing Again, and today I'm talking about why Star Wars Jedi Survivor helped reignite my love for Star Wars. Star Wars is a phenomenon that's transcended pop culture. Released in 1977 as the big-budgeted indie-like sci-fi film, an explosion that hit cinema screens with a big talking dog, light swords, and a mythical religious-like lore that gripped audiences across the globe. It has since amassed a cult following. Words like Jedi and the Force have been widely recognised as neologism. But in all of its success and fandom, now more than ever has the tide turned for the much-beloved space opera. The recent trilogy bowed out in a whimper and left audiences out of love with the franchise. However, for all its spin-off TV shows, books and general fandom, Jedi Survivor reignites a driving demand for the once illustrious, swashbuckling hero. Jedi Fallen Order was about a young man trying to subdue his true identity in the fear of death. And whilst hiding in plain sight worked, it wouldn't be until his friend Prof would force Cal into using his Jedi muscle memory.
We're all just expendable.
Yes, you are.
This is the catalyst for our protagonist to spend the next 2 games fighting the Empire, seeking out the remaining Jedi to protect them with the help of a crew.
But who are you people?
My name is Seer Junda, and this is my captain, Priest Ritus.
How you doing?
Star Wars Jedi Survivor starts 5 years on from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Cal Kestis, now in his 20s, is a mature Jedi who is infamous in the eyes of the Empire. You find him leading a battalion of noble rogues who aren't part of the Mantis crew, all in the face of a Nazi-like adversary. Our introduction to this game is in Coruscant. In the films, we see a city that is a sci-fi utopian, but in this, we see the underbelly of crime and a fractious pressure cooker of people fighting a regime. The game's opening leans into the gritty streets of Coruscant, which are reminiscent of the downtown poverty-stricken streets of LA in Blade Runner.
We're citizens. You can't treat us like this.
The game leapfrogs George Lucas's political undertones from films such as Phantom Menace and uses it as not only a motivation for Cal, but by blending it into the prologue in an engaging and fun way, unlike the films. An explosive tutorial wall running and swirling your lightsaber at oncoming stormtroopers, you meet with Bode, who shares his motivations of fighting the Empire for his daughter's future.
I have a daughter. Got it.
What this game succeeds in as a sequel is by not taking the powers away from the previous game, but using the environment as a springboard for traversal. As some of Cal's crew are killed, you feel the weight and sacrifice that not only these people have made, but the number of characters are merely pawns in the presence of the Empire's domination. It ties in with the narrative of the TV series Andor, and how not everyone can be a protagonist. Everyone is a cog in the machine. As Luthen Rael says,
I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see.
Escaping by the skin of your teeth to Kobo, we see the quieter side of the Jedi Knight. His demeanour feels reminiscent of Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, patient with everyone regardless of importance. What can't be ignored is the slower moments of taming animals. Seeing the control and balance in both his movement and line delivery is terrific. As well as Nekos being a means of transport, they also show the softness of Cal. He's matured immensely from the boy you saw in the first game to now slowly embodying Jedi qualities. A period of years has passed between our first introduction to Cal, who went from the junkyard scrapper, hiding from the Empire, to being a valiant leader, trying to do the right in a world where it pays to fight the regime.
Cal Kestis, get over here, you son of a bogling! Oh!
Reuniting with Grease highlights not only the passage of time between games, but also the wonderful dynamic of an uncle-like figure. His canteen is held up in a sleepy part of the galaxy, and during the story it expands and becomes a character within itself. The canteen amasses all the oddball characters we've come to expect from any Star Wars media. With his prickly demeanour at the surface, Grease shares his admiration for Cal in fleeting comments, and having a bedroom only emphasises his feelings towards him. As Cal has no direct family, Grease and Seer took it upon themselves to take Cal under their wing, as well as the wing of the Mantis. What's special about Kobo is the transition between the prequel era droids who natter between themselves.
I'll get promoted for doing such a good job. Then I'll get the other droids to guard the cliff. Oh, but then I won't see the scenery. Now that's a dilemma.
Dilemma solved.
And the influence of the original trilogy with stormtroopers and the likes of AT-ATs. The freedom to roam and encounter odd characters, meeting droids with backgrounds, makes this game so enriched and lived in. The dynamic range of characters like the fisherman Scuba.
I was taken to see the mysterious one they call God.
a larger-than-life character who stands as tall as a Smurf, or the likes of Turgle.
This is him, Delmac! This is the one who stood up to the Bedlam Raiders!
Turgle is a bumbling frog-like man who embodies the scatty nature of a Jar Jar Binks type. These characters and the sense of depth and existence are what make Star Wars feel lived in.
You got a name, Jedi?
Only Star Wars can compel me to actively seek fish to add to my digital aquarium. I found it difficult in the first game to relate to Cal. Though I liked his character and found him relatable, I never felt like I could embody him. Having agency of a character, I tried to embody those feelings, for as corny as that sounds. But by giving him outfits that I would deem appropriate on missions, or using materials that I believe would emotionally resonate with him, I was immersed. I started with the Cyan Blade from A New Hope to honour the original trilogy. When George Lucas created the prequels, the Jedis were meant to be at the peak in terms of using a lightsaber. We see them use it single-handedly, which you don't see in the original trilogy. The crossguard's long but heavy strikes felt more fitting for this period. As Cal is a Jedi Knight, having a crossguard looked like an appropriate fit. What made it even better was the discovery of this stance, and being kitted in a grey outfit, fitting for a sci-fi knight. The blaster stance felt like a disservice to a notable Jedi who once said,
So uncivilized.
"No Star Wars story is complete without a droid, and Jedi Survivor has the benefit of two. Your right-hand man BD-1 follows over from the first game. His new paint jobs and customization are a great way of developing an already strong bond. The abilities in the game balanced out the heavy traversal of wall running and climbing. Puzzles are now more engaging and less gimmicky than the predecessors, with the reliance on force-pushing balls around ancient temples. The quiet moments in the Jedi chambers are a change of pace from the onslaught of stormtroopers, and means we can use BD-1's Kobo grinder. And whilst this refreshes the gameplay loop, it didn't interest me as much as Z and her storyline. Finding her hopeless and slightly off-kilter, you can't help but warm to her as she's bumbling through the story.
I'm a Jedi, all right.
But you're not even wearing the proper robes.
I'm more of a poncho guy.
Not only does she play a pivotal role in the story, it's how she also reiterates that Cal is unequivocally a Jedi, which puts the weight of the galaxy back on his shoulders.
Gee, you made it.
Grease informed me you're in need of assistance, so here I am.
Embarking on Jeddah provides a deep insight into the lore surrounding Jedi and the Force, and for its Tatooine-like planet, the scope of traversal and the development of a better connection to the preservation of the Jedi beyond Order 66. Jeddah sees another connection, only this one is continuously blossoming between Cal and Merrin. At this point in the timeline of Star Wars, the position on love and attachment is mostly insignificant to the greater issues in the galaxy. The companionship between the two can be understood through Cal and Merrin's loneliness of being on their own respective journeys. Merrin's enlightened and wishes to see more of a galaxy far, far away from her planet. Cal is hoping to find Tanlore, so Force-sensitive people are protected from the Empire. Like Luke in The New Hope, Merrin too is longing for adventure, but on her terms. The sense echoes on Jella conveyed stories of the Jedi without heavy expositions and an urge to spam the skip button.
But we both have our roles to play in this struggle.
When we eventually reunite with Seer, it's obvious that their conflicting views acts as a divide. Cal is at the forefront of wanting to lead a rebellion of his own, whereas Seer is downtrodden and is looking to rebuild in the shadows. This is a consistent theme in Star Wars, especially with some Jedi seeking more from life than the restrictions imposed upon them. Jedi are to push themselves, striving to be the best they can be. The likes of Dagan Gera and his obsession with Tanlore drove him to the path of darkness. By the Jedi Order abandoning their plans to train Jedi in Tanlore, his attachment to the sacred land made him act in a rage by killing his peers. The restraint, emotion and attachment the Jedi must possess means any exposure is a mental battle of will. The exposure of Tanlore and its magnetism made him not only disenfranchised with the Jedi Council, but emotionally attached. Having felt betrayed by his closest ally who severed his arm meant returning to the light side was unlikely. When individuals like Dagan are wielding that level of power in a group that imposes strict rules and dictates how they're meant to live, it's only natural for a fallout. This arrogance of expecting everyone to comply was the underpinning of how the Jedi Order failed to see the downfall of Order 66.
No traffic. Looks like this portal's under maintenance.
In the opening of the game, Bode is portrayed as a charming, composed and rebellious character. However, many viewers felt that something was amiss. As the game progresses, Bode reiterates his reason for fighting against the Empire, which is to protect his daughter and assist his brotherly friend Cal. Although I was not surprised by Bode's change of heart, Cal was taken back. During a high-speed chase, the two confront each other and it becomes clear that they are both survivors. When we play the game, we assume that Jedi Survivor refers to Cal, but is also a reference to Bode, who is also fighting to stay alive, even if it means abandoning his beliefs to protect himself and his daughter.
It's been a while.
During a period of turmoil, Seer faced Darth Vader and witnesses his unmatched strength. Her death proves to be a crucial turning point for Cal's journey, as it drives him towards either good or bad. The game delves into the darkness that's creeping into Cal due to his lack of progress. Although he knows that it's an uphill battle, Seer, like his master before him, understands that the galaxy needs more than just Cal. In the next chapter, we can see how his anger is taking shape. The game does an excellent job of portraying the Empire's strength and advancement when we reach Nova Garen. The high-rise rooms with stark white and grey colours and the snarling British accents create an atmosphere that accurately depicts a location like the original Death Star.
This is Commander Denning. Let me be
There's the
first
base
to
commander.
welcome our guests from the Inquisitorius. We are grateful that Lord Vader has shown an interest in our operations.
Although climbing through hatches and shimming past ventilation shafts is a common trope in gaming, the game's ability to capture the inner child within me made it more than just an average third-person action-adventure game. Encountering officers or stormtroopers who were scrambling to find a gun or anything to defend themselves felt like the power I had as Starkiller in The Force Unleashed.
Not answering his call.
Yes, that's exactly my point.
Maybe he's interrogating the Jedi. You think he's still alive?
This leads me to talk about Cal and the murmurs of darkness he exhibits in brutal slashes of his lightsaber. When I found Bode's home, it came as a surprise to me that Carter existed. What was difficult was how she got between Cal, towing the line between the calmness of a Jedi presence to the final warnings he laid out. After they flee the home, we are presented with Cal embracing darkness. A flash of red mist, rage, every strike, making this visual manifestation of darkness larger. And while it was immensely fun as a gameplay mechanic, it only highlights the gradual decline of this character. Before we leave the Nova Garen, we're confronted with the officer who gave Bode all of his orders. Cal chokes the officer, akin to Darth Vader in A New Hope. Merrin calls him out and he eventually snaps out of his darkness.
I know you are in pain, but this is not you! The Empire has taken enough from us! It's beautiful.
As we journey towards Tanlor, we get a moment of peace before the showdown with Bode. The desolate, moonlight terrain, adorned with some colourful flora, gives off the impression of a long-abandoned magical sanctuary.
You will be safe. I promise, Bode.
For Cal, fighting Bode is a painful ordeal, as he was once a close friend, who has caused much harm and devastation. As they battle each other in the temple, it seems like Bode is losing. But as a last resort, Bode attempts to take Merrin down with a despicable act of evil. With no other options left, Cal is forced to kill Bode with 2 final shots. Cal's ability to survive the Order 66 massacre and other life events is truly remarkable. As one of the few to escape, he managed to carve out a small corner of the galaxy for himself. However, his master sacrificed himself to save Cal, leaving him with survivor's guilt. In the game, Cal reflects on his mistakes and realises that seeking out Seer may have cost her life. He understands that surviving doesn't mean coming out of the experience unscathed. Overcoming adversity can leave deep emotional scars. In the immolation scene, we see Cal stuck in thought as everything else around him moves. The burning bodies are a reminder of not only his shortcomings, but the reinstated survivor guilt. The death of killing someone you regarded as a friend is in keeping with the franchise, and how Cal, like the Jedi before him, will always seek to find the good in people. Either Cal will pin responsibility on himself by not seeing Bode as a troubled man who wasn't able to control himself, or it was his ignorance and naivety by letting Bode in at the detriment of his closest family. This question poses where Cal might be mentally in the 3rd installment. As we proceed to the final cutscenes, seeing that Cal will likely take Carter in, as Obi-Wan did for Anakin and Seer did for Cal. Once you gain that darkness from Nova Garen, it never leaves. Even in the post-game, it's saddled with you. This choice was overtly done by Respawn, which I believe will carry over into the third instalment of this series. Unlike the Disney Star Wars films, this game is a love letter to the ideas of what made Star Wars special. It creates wonderfully enriched locations with a clear emphasis on retaining user engagement by giving them locations to come back to further into the story. Jedi Survivor constantly rewards players by letting them engage with the environment, whether that's secret paths or boss fights.
I could annihilate you. The galaxy would never know this.
Expanding upon the successes of their first game, creating a more in-depth fighting system and allowing for vigorous customization meant this game could appeal to not only Star Wars fans, but general gamers. Whilst I'll never claim to be the biggest Star Wars fan, as there will always be a bigger fish, Jedi Survivor had me spellbound. It truly reignited my love for Star Wars.
Why do I always get assigned to these backwater posts? Enemy!
Thank you for letting me obsess again.